Roger Trutman,
Here.
and Lori Wertz.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Item 2, announcement. Please have all cell phones silenced during the meeting. Item 3, announcement. The board will convene in the closed session called under State Statute 19.851C for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Consideration of clerk treasurer finalists. Item 4, I look for an approval of the agenda.
This is Henry. I move to approve the agenda.
Tammy, second.
Okay, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, public appearances of citizens' comments. No debate will occur with the board. Items will not be acted upon at this meeting, but will be referred to the proper staff or committee if action is required. And please keep your comments to 3 minutes. I know we have a couple that like to speak. Corinne or Brooke, either one, would you like to speak?
Corinne Hendrickson, I'll go first. Sorry, I'm in my truck. I'm watching, I'm here for the volleyball game. So hi, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Corinne Hendrickson and I own and operate Corinne's Little Explorers Family Childcare at 854 10th Avenue in New Glarus. I'm a fully inclusive program and have had several children with special needs as well over the years. So I've been in business for 14 years, and in that time, I've cared for and educated dozens of children from 6 weeks to 12 years of age. This has allowed their parents to concentrate on their work in a variety of fields, move up the corporate ladder, pursue education and their own small business dreams because they knew their child was in a safe environment where they were loved, cared for, and allowed to create the foundations of persistence, creativity, collaboration, curiosity, positive self-esteem, self-awareness, and self-control needed to become happy, productive members of society. I'm also a resource for families and connect them to whatever information or resources that they may need, and including now COVID testing. So unfortunately, the lack of care available has been and is continuing to hurt our communities. So the pandemic has made this essential role that childcare plays as a foundation in our economy as clear to everyone as professionals in the field have always known. The last person to get licensed as a family childcare was 8 years ago, and at least 2 certified providers have come and gone in that period. Yes, our county is doing some great things. It's Kara, who's here tonight, knows about, but we just still definitely need to have some investment from every single level, because there's a sense of urgency and that this crisis is having on our community right now. The lack of childcare has kept our small businesses throughout town from being fully staffed. You notice what their hours have been cut. There are days that they're closed when they should be open. And it is also, I'm getting multiple phone calls a week from people looking for childcare, and realtors are actually starting to ask us if we have openings because it is starting to affect people's decision-making when purchasing a home and moving into communities. We are also finding that our school district has lost students because they are open enrolled into other districts because that's where they're finding childcare for their 4Kers. With jobs becoming available to work from remotely, people won't have a workplace in the city near a childcare location or on their way to work as an option. This is definitely true. A lot of infants and toddlers would go closer to Madison or other cities because it was easier, more convenient for their parents until they could get their child into a program here in town. People aren't getting into regulated family childcare because the profit margin is so low they can't afford healthcare or retirement and support their family with the meager profits left after expenses and charging what parents can afford. So basically what I'm asking for you to do is to kind of think about how we as a village and community could take some of that impact on, because parents right now in Greene County are paying an average of $8,125 for an infant and $76.60 for a 4-year-old. Wisconsin Early Childhood Association did a cost of care, and it's actually $27,000 for an infant and $15,000 per 4-year-old. So that difference between what we should be charging and what we are charging is coming out of our wages and our pockets. So Brooke is going to talk a little bit more about the impact on group centers. Thank you very much for your time. And I also want to say I do support the housing information that is on there. I did look through the agenda, and I think that that would be a really good choice for us to make as well.
Brooke, would you like to speak, please?
Yep, thank you. Brooke Skidmore. I reside in New Glarus, and I co-own a group center for childcare. Pre-COVID, we had over 100 children enrolled, had wait lists in all rooms. And I just recently had to reduce our capacity number, even though we still have wait lists in all rooms, down from where we were down to 60 now, because we lack teachers, basically, even though, again, every age I have wait lists for a room. So it's been a significant challenge, especially taking the phone calls from parents that are searching for childcare options and they're just not finding it, can't take jobs. So it's definitely impacting our community. So with that said, and with what Corrine had said, we are interested in providing the board and any other of the village employers or workers or anybody really, I guess, to provide an informational meeting. And we could also cater that meeting and to provide food. So I wanted to see if we could request, I know you can't decide right now, but request if that would be an option so that we can make sure that we're providing you all the specific numbers and information that's related to our town and county, and then provide information about ways that we as a community can help try to support the children in our area and thus support our economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. Is there anyone else out there that wants to speak? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, approval of the consent agenda.
I'd like to just ask, this is Peggy. I'll go ahead and approve the consent agenda, but I just would like to ask a question about the item C, the inspector report, building inspector report. Can I do that?
Okay,
I just wanted to ask Drake, I noticed in the building inspector report that were, I think 11 or so homes out in Valtel that have now permits. I just wanted to know, what is the timeline of that, that building, those number of homes? Is it like 2 years or is it going to take?
it'll be quicker than 2. You'll start seeing some work going on yet this year.
Okay,
They'll get as much done as they can, but their goal is to, I believe that they're spec homes, and so they would like to build them and get them on the market.
I see. Okay, so they're all specs. They're not private. Okay. So I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Lori Wertz, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, Parks and Recreation Committee Chairperson Report. Chuck?
I don't have anything of great import. I will mention that since we are discussing budget, we did act in our last meeting to increase fees across the board for the pool and recreation programs in an attempt to at least keep up a little bit with increasing expenses. Other than that, the Glarner Park project is progressing nicely. We finally see green grass growing, and we have a delay on the outfield fence due to the great supply line problem, but we expect to see that done in good time. I think that's all I have.
Okay, Chuck, thank you. Item 8, Public Works and Public Safety Committee Chairperson Report. Peggy?
Yeah, well, you'll see some of this on the agenda, but just in summary, one of the items that we talked about was the 3rd Street parking prohibition on the east side from 4th Avenue to 6th. And I'm not sure where we are on that. We talked a little bit about it. Some of us were surprised, including myself, that we were actually pursuing that even further because we thought it was already settled. So I don't know where we are on that at this point, Drake. Are we just stuck here, kind of going to bring that up again on the agenda, or have you contacted anyone?
It'll be up to the committee. It was a referral from a trustee, and so
Right.
it's up to the committee whether they want it to go anywhere.
Okay, so we're still pursuing that. I didn't know if there was any further discussion on that.
No.
Okay, then we had a police report and some operator licensures to approve. And we approved the Christmas Kindle Market to take place from October 8th through the 14th. I believe that that seems to be of interest to numerous entities within the village, even some, from what I've heard personally, even some nonprofits are interested in providing some refreshment or actually participating. And then the other two items that we had were a trustee brought up the special event management at festivals because they had made the observation that open intoxicants were actually going beyond the borders and the boundaries, I'm sorry, and maybe we needed a little more oversight. The police department said that they can't, they cannot oversee everything, and that's just how festivals occur. Police department also said that they found no significant issues with the festival management. And then we discussed, again, brought up by a trustee, parking violations and fines. It was noted by a trustee that some people were parking campers and other things either over into other parking stalls or overnight, and maybe we needed to take a look at that more vigorously. So at that point, we had discussed those and left those to be looked at a little further before they're brought up again. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. Okay, item B, discussion consideration, special event permit for New Glarus Chamber of Commerce for Chris Kindle Mart on December 8th through the 14th, 2021.
This is Henry. I'll move to approve it.
This is Peggy.
Lori
I'll
moves.
second.
I'll second.
Whoever.
Becca, are you on?
Yes.
Okay, Becca. Joe wanted me to just talk to you a little bit about, in the event that it snows, he would like to make sure that everybody pushes the snow out onto the street so he can get it cleaned up. So
Yes.
will these people take care of that, please?
Yes. That'll be part of the communication between us and the vendors in the upcoming month or so.
Okay, okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, Green County Development Corporation. Item 8, presentation, discussion, consideration, Green County Economic Development Corporation regarding Prosperity Southwest Wisconsin Workforce Innovation Grant Application for Housing. That was a mouthful. It's
Harper.
Kara, you're on?
I'm on, yes. Hi, I'm Kara
Okay.
Harper with Green County Development Corporation. I want to thank you for inviting me to talk about housing. As was mentioned on the agenda, so we have each part of the state is divided into economic development regions. Green County is lucky enough to be part of 2 economic development regions. We're part of the Madison region, which is Dane County, and then the counties that surround Dane County. So that's Madison Region Economic Partnership. So that's MADREP. And we are also part of Prosperity Southwest, which is more the southwestern part of the state. So Greene and Lafayette, Grant, Iowa, Richland, and Crawford. So it is the Prosperity Southwest, that group of counties, that is proposing this grant proposal for a workforce innovation grant to Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I don't know how much of this you have seen, but basically all these grants require some match, and the match would be provided by communities paying $2 per capita. So New Glarus, you generally run about 2,000 people. So for $4,000, you could be part of this program if we get the grant. So if we do not get the grant, then the village would not be out any money. Some of the details of the grant, and so some of these things may not work for New Glarus. So this might be part of your decision-making process. For example, the administration would be provided by Prosperity Southwest. So you wouldn't need, in your village, you wouldn't need to hire anybody, or it wouldn't be on somebody else's plate to run these programs. That would be taken care of by Prosperity Southwest. So some of the things that this could provide is, for example, rehabilitation of a home under $100,000. And you could apply for up to $40,000 per award. My question on that one, does New Glarus have any houses that would be under the value of $100,000? Perhaps, maybe a couple. So that's an opportunity. So for a $4,000 investment, you could apply for a grant for $40,000. Another one that might be more applicable to New Glarus is the raise of a structure. So if you've got structures in your community that should be raised, that have raise orders, this would provide up to $20,000, which probably wouldn't cover the whole cost of raising a building, but perhaps would cover a good portion of it that the city would have to pay. So that's another option. There's also options for relocation down payments, so that if someone is going to relocate to our area, to New Glarus, that up to 10% of the home's purchase price, not more than $30,000, would be used to help that applicant pay for their down payment. So again, trying to get folks from outside to move to Greene County, move to New Glarus. One that might especially work, since you are having spec homes built. I don't think any of our other communities are having spec homes built, but we can provide through this program interest coverage. So for a developer that wants to build spec homes, there's always a risk that those spec homes won't sell. And so this provides interest coverage so that for a maximum of 18 months, so that it gives developers just a little bit of cushion, so that if they are being charged interest during that time that a house is not sold, that this program can cover that. And finally, it's a vacant land purchase for the development of residential lots. So if the community would have some lots that would be available that you could purchase by the village, that could provide up to 20 acres, and then a 50-50 match would be included. So lots of great programs. It's nice to have this administration, I must say this, it's nice to have the administration of this program, not within the community, not within the village. That would just take time away from somebody's time. And again, for a $4,000 investment, if we get the grant, I think that New Glarus could see a lot of benefit from this program. Any questions about the grant application? What we're asking is a letter of support from the village, and also a letter of commitment as far as the match. So it's basically two short letters. One basically saying that the city, that the village has agreed to, if we do win the grant, that they would pay $2 per capita, so about $4,000 toward this program. And I can tell you who's in and who's not. So again, we're covering all of Southwest Wisconsin. So for Greene County so far, we have Monticello and Monroe who are in, and throughout Southwest Wisconsin, we've got Ferryville, Darlington, Benton, Potosi, Tennyson, Platteville, Prairie du Chien, Wazeeka, Soldiers Grove, and Gays Mills. We're still waiting on Shellsburg, Lancaster, Cuba City, and Boscoville, and New Glarus.
I guess I have a question. If we do this, what are the chances of us getting a grant? I mean, like for those spec homes or for some vacant land, are we going to be in competition?
You'll be, so it's the villages and the cities that are furthest ahead Because for example, the spec homes, you guys, you're ready for that. So if the grant gets approved, it's a short turnaround time. You're basically ready to apply and receive money for that. So it's going to go out on a first come, first serve. But from my understanding, it's going to be first come, first serve. They're going to try to get the money out the door as quickly as possible. So it's not really a competition.
And this is Henry. just was curious, the under $100,000 home rehab, does that include like a trailer?
We haven't talked about that, but I suspect it would, like a mobile home.
Yeah.
I'm quite certain that it would include mobile homes. We realize that mobile homes are an important part of our housing stock.
And then how many of these grants could we apply for? For example, if we had a home that was under $100,000 that we would really like to see get helped out, and let's say this developer, can we apply for more than one grant?
Absolutely, that's what it's for. So, for example, for the budget for rehab of a home under $100,000, it's up to $40,000. And with this grant, we will have 60 projects. So 60 projects amongst the dozen communities that have signed on. So that means, that suggests that everyone's going to get more than one if you've got your ducks in a row. And so for raised structures, there's 40 projects that can be funded to raise a structure. Relocation down payments, we're looking at 75 projects. For interest coverage, that's 20 projects. And for vacant land purchase, we're looking, but that requires additional match, but it depends on if we've got match. And there it looks like about, yeah, so that one required, that's a little different, but again, something that New Glarus could definitely benefit from.
This is Peggy. What is the time frame on this?
So ideally, we'd have your letter of support tomorrow because the grant is due on Monday. So we're trying to collect the letters of support in time so that we can get the package all together and get it submitted. We'd really like to submit it Friday because it's due on Monday, and sometimes there seems always to be glitches in submitting grants to the state. So if we could get if there's approval and we could get the letter of support tomorrow, that would be terrific. If you need longer, just let me know.
This is Peggy again, before someone else asks. The other question is, what's the time frame of the grant, the whole package? Is it over 4 years or a year?
It's to 2024, so 3 years.
3 years, okay. Okay, thank you.
Drake, do you feel that is something that we can, if we were to make a motion and get this approved, is that something your staff can turn around for us?
Yeah, we could get the documents Karen needed.
Well, this is Tammy. I'll make a motion that we approve that letter of support for this grant.
This is Lori. I'll second that.
If I could make a friendly recommendation, I would recommend the motion be a motion to participate in the grant program as presented, and if awarded, pay for the matching contribution with general fund surplus.
This is Tammy. I would like to make a motion that we participate in the grant as presented, with the finances being available what was it? She said around $4,000 to make the grant. Sorry.
I still second it, Lori.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, this is Chuck. Number one, I don't like acting under duress or a time frame. I received this information on Friday. I know very little about this program. I know we had a presentation here, but I'd like to look into it a lot further. And having be put under the gun for something like this, I find it distasteful, for one thing. I don't know why this wasn't brought to us before. I will also state that I don't see the need for the village of New Glarus to enter into this. We're not in a depressed market. I haven't seen any need for this type of program in our community, and based on my real estate experience here. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just like to know a heck of a lot more about it, delve into it more deeply. So yeah, so I can't really go along with the motion.
Okay, anybody else got any thoughts?
This is Peggy. I have similar feelings to Chuck's. I'll just. Thanks.
Peggy, are you still
I
there?
would, since I brought this up, I would not object to putting this off for a future meeting. The idea that we have to submit this by Monday is completely out of the question as far as I'm concerned. If these time restraints are put on us, then that's bad government.
Peggy, are you with us?
I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can. Can you had a comment?
Oh, I was just going to respond that to Chuck's comment that I am in agreement with him. I don't know enough about it. I'm almost anxious right here, trying to gather my thoughts in order to make a choice, but I feel quite pressured because I don't know enough. At this point,
Is there any opportunity to delay the village's decision to participate? Their next meeting would be the first Tuesday in November.
Yeah, the grant needs to be submitted on Monday, and we'll go with the sub-participants that we have.
Okay.
Oh, that's not acceptable.
Greg, do you have more familiarity with this program, maybe?
The information presented is the summary that I have reviewed.
Drake, this is Peggy. Do you see, I don't consider myself an expert in this, so do you see a need for this? Does it seem like it could be a, excuse me, a wide range of opportunities for us to participate?
I'm also not a housing expert. I would defer to Kara for the regional needs. The average price of a home in New Glarus, I would assume, is far higher than $100,000. I don't know if there's any. There's probably some structures that could be raised for development, but I don't know how many we're talking. Some people could benefit from a relocation down payment, people moving into town. So there probably are people who would benefit, but to what degree and what the housing needs of the community is not. That would require further study for me to comment on. Housing needs analysis is
Right.
not something that I have for the board at this time.
Yeah, I understand. And that I feel the same. I don't feel well educated in that area and feel a little bit pressured to make a decision I don't know much about.
Does anyone have more information on the infrastructure additions?
So we did a regional planning, and JCDC did a housing study back in 2018. Things have changed, obviously, with COVID since 2018. And I just pulled it up quickly on my website. So as far as based on projected number of households and housing units that are needed in New Glarus, the deficit is 88 homes, housing units that need to be built by 2030, assuming nothing changes. So that's without any new employers or any new housing needs is that you need about 88 units to provide housing for all the folks who need housing in New Glarus.
What is that based on? Hello?
Yeah, let me just pull that back up again. Sorry, I'm trying to look at two screens. I'm not being very successful. So that is based on census numbers and Department of Administration Demographic Services Center.
Okay, and is there any reason to believe that the free market wouldn't take care of this as it has in the past?
Well, the housing study did show that New Glarus needs housing of all sorts, from very young folks, young families, all the way through senior housing. So that is something that the housing study did find.
Right, I think that would be true of most any community
And
in
it is, yeah.
the United States, but I'm not sure that I understand how this program would benefit the greater good, considering that it's a subsidized program, and that these housing needs wouldn't be met in the free market as they have been in the past. What I'm saying is that basically what I'm saying is I'm not so sure that the village of New Glarus should be locking themselves into subsidizing new building. I don't know that for a fact, and I'd like more information. I'd like to study this myself. I am somewhat of a real estate expert, but I haven't had time to look into all the aspects of this. And as I said before, this Monday deadline is just unacceptable to me as a village board member. To be forced into a sudden time frame is, this should have been brought to us 2 months ago if you wanted it voted on tonight. And I still don't see the real advantage at this point.
So
So
Chuck,
do we,
I just wanted to say my thought process. I agree. I wish I had more time to study it too. I agree. I guess I didn't. When I made the motion, I was looking at the ideas. I think we do need to work on housing here, and I think building the tax. So I saw it as if we invest in or encourage people to move here, we'll grow a tax base. And I guess I didn't see. I mean, granted, $4,000 is $4,000, but when we talk about the gain that we would get and the opportunity that's there, I agree. We might find it difficult to find a house worth less than 100,000 in New Glarus, and I don't really know that we have anything that raised. But I was just kind of looking at encouraging the development and helping people to relocate here, so that they would maybe choose New Glarus over, the neighbors or whatever, or at least look at New Glarus with their families. So I guess I just saw that as in the scope of things, when we've been talking a lot over the last year about ways of helping to build the tax base in New Glarus. I saw that as an opportunity, and that's why I went ahead and made the motion.
well, one of the things that I'm looking at here is the infrastructure addition. Infrastructure projects must be directly correlated with additions of buildable lots within a municipality. So I guess what my question is, would that be something that could be applied towards a water pump or a water tower? Something along the lines of expanding our buildable property limit within New Glarus so that we can, build more houses here.
Kara, are you able to answer that? Can we use it for that?
So I do not know the answer. So I'm not the one who's writing this grant, so I don't know the ins and outs of all the details. So I do not know the answer for sure on that one. So I'd have to say I don't know.
So Roger, this is Peggy. Do we have a motion and a second on the table?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
How quickly could we get more information from this? Is this something that we could have a special board meeting to revisit it and see what's, can we get more information, have the members here do a little bit more information searching and meet back here on Friday and discuss it again?
So what the information that I have, I provided. This grant process was a very quick turnaround, which is why you didn't get it 2 months ago, because the grant didn't exist 2 months ago. And so when the state puts out these grant opportunities, often there's a very quick turnaround. So we're basically building this airplane while we're in the air, which is why it seems like we don't have our act together, because we don't have the grant written, even though it is Tuesday and the grant is due Friday. Not the whole grant, the whole narrative has not been written. So I've provided what we do have.
What is the reason for this, as you stated, building this airplane in the air?
Our region
how does the, I'm not blaming you, I'm just questioning, this comes from the state, I think you said. How do these things just appear out of thin air and suddenly are placed on our plate? I don't understand that.
So it's a grant from the state, workforce innovation. So our region got together and talked about what is the #1 issue with workforce in our area, and identified that housing is the #1 issue, while childcare as well. But we decided to move forward with a housing grant proposal from our region. It's the one proposal that is region wide. Because again, we did the housing study a couple of years ago and found that housing is the biggest difficulty that people are having when it comes to workforce. So that's why we move forward with a housing proposal for this grant.
Well, I understand that, but why the urgency? Why did someone suddenly say, okay, we have this grant, you have to decide in 14 days, a week, whatever? It doesn't make sense.
The grant was announced. We got our group together, decided what we were going to do the grant on. And again, that's why we're putting the proposal together. It's a quick turnaround, and the grant is due on Monday.
Now, is this 4,000 a year, or is this a one-time 4,000 cost?
One time.
Okay. So I understand that the urgency. I understand that this was probably dropped on your lap like last week, and I can see that the village, we could probably spend more on that in electrical. This could help somebody. It could not help somebody. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is something that we could try and take advantage of and see how it goes and reassess it in 3 years and see if that's something really, yeah.
When is the $4,000 due upon applying for the grant?
It would only be due if we receive the grant. And the grants are very, very competitive. Our chances of, I don't know what our chances are, because this is the only regional application we are putting together for our region. So we're hopeful for it, but it's not a sure thing.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, Lynn, I think I want to take a roll call vote on this, please.
Okay. Michael Bell,
Yes.
Henry Janish,
Yes.
Peggy Cruz,
No.
Tammy Newberry,
Yes.
Chuck Phillipson,
No.
Roger Trutman,
Nope.
and Lori Wertz.
Yes.
So I have
Okay.
4 yes and 3 no.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Yep.
So do you need to talk to Kara anymore as far as this? Okay. Okay, Kara, thank you much.
Thank you.
Drake will be in touch with you. Okay, item 10, old business. Discussion consideration resolution 20-08 regarding snowmobile access on Sugar River Trail extension. To rescind or affirm. Drake?
The Association of Wisconsin Snowmobile Clubs is requesting the village's support to include language in the DNR's Trail Master Plan to allow snowmobiles on the trail extension from the highway crossing to Culvers. A representative of the DNR is present here as requested to answer questions the board may have. The village board may rescind its previously adopted resolution in opposition to the allowance of snowmobiles on this track of trail, or it may affirm its previous position. You also received an email from me with the comments from the village attorney, so you should have those in your email if you hadn't seen them yet. So if there's any specific questions, Steve Schmelzer from the DNR is here to answer questions about trail maintenance or safety that you may have. And representatives from the Snowmobile Club Association are present as well.
Drake, if I may just clarify something. You said that we may confirm or I forget what you said. Rescind or affirm. I believe according to there's a third option according to the attorney's email that no action really need be taken.
That's true.
Just putting that out there for the.
I believe if no action was taken tonight, it would be a de facto affirmation of the existing resolution.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that.
Correct. There is no obligation to take a vote tonight.
I guess my question is, I still am completely confused. It's currently occurring that that snowmobiles are going past the crossing on 69 down to Culvers. So we're currently allowing that, but we've made a resolution.
It's prohibited currently, Tammy.
No.
Tammy, it is currently prohibited.
It is currently prohibited.
Yes, from the trail crossing to Culvers, snowmobiles are prohibited.
Was that before we made the resolution, or was that since we made the resolution?
No, when the resolution was passed, it was prohibited
So
at that time.
Okay. I got confused. So it's currently prohibited to travel from the path down to Culvers. And then we made a resolution affirming that, correct?
Correct. We had been approached about the village's stance on whether to allow snowmobiles on that extension. And the resolution was the result of that discussion.
And one of the reasons why was because they didn't want to guarantee the pavement between those locations, right? The paved trail.
At the time, the DNR, told me that if snowmobiles were allowed and it caused a accelerated degradation of the pavement, that they would potentially let it revert to an unpaved path and not repave it in the future.
Right.
So yes, that was a significant piece of the discussion, was the desire for it to remain paved and not to risk its status as a paved trail.
And is that still the stance of the DNR, that they don't want to support the pavement?
Steve, would you mind commenting on that?
Sure, you bet. Hey, good evening. I'm Steve Schmelzer. I'm the State Parks Director. And I also have Phil Reinish. He's the head planner for the Department of Natural Resources. He's also online here too. But yeah, I know that when I talked to Drake regarding this issue, right at this time, when we looked at the pavement, the pavement there is a little bit older, but it's still got, some good life expectancy left in it. And at such time that, if it was, snowmobiles were allowed on it, we would take a look at it and see what the options are. If it was, if there was significant damage or if it was, minimal damage that occurred on there. And I know that I've also talked with Tim Spearsnyder from the AWSC, and he, about this, and he had said that, and Sam can probably comment on this too, that they would be interested in, if that was the case, possibly helping out if that was going to be repaved too. So, our intention is not to pull up any sort of pavement or do anything like that, but it's just, we'd reassess it at the time that it would be repaved to determine if it's, if it would be warranted to keep being paved. Did I answer your question for that?
Yes, but I'm still confused. So currently then the DNR is in favor of allowing the snowmobiles to go down to Culver's?
Well, the reason why we came by tonight is to hear what, the local people are saying about, the new Glarus spur there, to see if that is something that, we should consider for the new master plan. And that's encompassed in the Southwest Savannah master plan. So, we're just looking for comments to see if, if we have positive affirmation from the village and local citizens, then we definitely take that into consideration when we do the master plan. Phil, I'm not sure if you want to provide comment on the master plan.
No, I think you covered it, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm Phil Reinish, the Property Planning Section Chief for the DNR. I think Steve covered it. Yeah, we're here tonight because we're kind of nearing the end of our master planning process, which is a regional process, and it includes the Sugar River State Trail and the New Glarus Woods State Park. So both DNR properties that are that this spur connects. So just very interested in hearing what this group has to say.
This is Peggy, Peggy Cruz, Village Board member. I guess I've taken a few walks down that particular trail, and I guess I'm walking both sides here. I do see a benefit to the businesses, but frankly, Highway 69, the Sugar River Trail, and the number of intersections and the number of opportunities for guests in the area who may not know, the area, the traffic model, it somewhat scares me. There are some, obviously we do have drinking establishments, some along the way. We have tourists as well. We have noise. I just see this as something to be very cautious about, because it scares me, the potential for something, I'm not saying tragic, but something to occur that that would not be beneficial to the community. And we did hear from a board member last week who is involved in tourism at the Landhaus, that the noise was concerning. So these are just some thoughts. I guess I'm just thinking here along the way that I don't know where I feel strongly, but I do feel really concerned about safety. So we have a number of things going on along this particular route. Thanks.
This is Chuck. I agree with Peggy on the safety issue. That was my concern the last two times we visited this issue, with 2 street crossings and several driveway crossings being, I just envision this whole early darkness in winter and snowmobilers in helmets cruising down the trail and cars turning off the highway, whether they be local or not. The possibility of high snowbanks from snow removal, it really scares me. I somewhat surprised I haven't heard anything from any of the businesses along the way, but I would ask that either Bert or Jeff chime in on this safety issue if they have any opinions on it.
Yeah, no, in the past, that the snowmobiles have gone down there, and Lieutenant Sturtevant can chime in also. From what I've seen on the weekends, and I'm not here always at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, but it's been somewhat limited. I think they go to the Cenex to get gas. But other than that, I mean, I don't know, Jeff, you're on more of the day, during the day and weekends. I just haven't seen the big crowds going down there. Have you?
But Bert, excuse me, Jeff, but Bert, it's been prohibited up until now.
Correct. I understand that. And to be honest with you, the department assumed that that was a state trail and they were permitted to go down there. So therefore, we've never really taken any enforcement action. And that's what Lieutenant Sturtevant and I had talked. If this is, stops here and it doesn't go through, well, then we're going to have to start enforcing it also, Chuck. But, at the time, we just saw the DNR trail.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just asking for your opinion of what you think might happen if it was completely open to traffic. I don't monitor the traffic down there. I don't monitor the snowmobile traffic. And obviously it depends a good deal on what kind of winter we have. But I'm just looking for a little bit clarification on the potential for danger, I guess.
Joe, are you there? This is Peggy. Is Joe there?
Joe is not in attendance tonight. He had a family matter to attend to.
Well, Chuck brings up a point, and I do quite a bit of walking along that area in the wintertime, and I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it, Chuck. Those snowbanks do get high, and when I get to an intersection, oftentimes I have to step out. Intersections, I mean high with snow, I have to step out and take a look, depending upon how much snow has fallen, to see if I can cross. So I don't know, again, those of us who live here probably are aware of all the precautions, but those that are tourists may not. So that's something that we can throw into the mix for consideration. Thanks.
Great. Sam Landis here. Can I make a few comments?
Just a minute, Sam. This Chuck, since I had asked Bert to give his opinion, and he deferred to Jeff. Before you go on, I'd like to hear Jeff's opinion if he would give it.
I can tell you, Chuck, I agree with Bert. We didn't know this resolution ever got passed. Henceforth, that's why we started coming to these village board meetings, because we've learned so much at them. We didn't know this from the get-go. I can tell you, over the years, I've been here 20 years, I've only remember one accident with a snowmobile, and that was actually on the trail, on the Sugar River Trail behind the vet clinic. The guy hit the bridge. So we haven't, on that end, we haven't had any like accidents or anybody get hit. We've had a few complaints with loud exhausts, or, the fumes that they parked it by the Fat Cat over in there. But last year we posted that all no parking, then with our signs and everything, and there was no problems. And Fat Cat Coffee was, pleased and everything. So on the police department's end, we haven't had any problems.
Right, Jeff, but that's not my question. My question is, because you haven't had problems because the traffic has been prohibited from from the crossing on down to Culvers. So that, that's
My
a
understanding is that only
self-substantiated
took-
fact. I'm just wondering if you think that increased traffic there would increase the safety hazards. Also, I guess I should have asked, is there any way to alleviate this? Would stop signs at each crossing, each intersection, would they be?
There's already stop signs. There's already stop signs on the trail.
That's what I'm
I don't know.
confused
I don't
about,
think-
is because
wait a
there
minute,
has
wait.
been, there has been stop signs there.
Wait a minute, wait. There is no stop sign because there's no, correct me if I'm wrong. Snowmobiles are not allowed past the crossing south, right?
Snowmobiles are prohibited south of that crossing. Snowmobiles
Right.
still go down there.
So would there, but
They still go
So
down
why
there.
would-
They still
so
go
you're-
to the motel, and they still go to Culver's. I
Okay.
remember driving by there, and I remember seeing those things parked outside there. So even though it's prohibited, they still go down those ways.
Be that as it may, my question is, since they're prohibited, why would there be stop signs
For the bike path,
on the trail?
there are stop signs.
There
that go-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the bikes, for the bicycles.
No.
Well, they're there, whether they're for the bicycles or not. It makes sense
From
they're
the-
there.
Yes, they are there.
They're
From
there.
the-
There's stop signs on the little wooden posts on the path.
Correct.
From the crossing down to Culvers.
Yep.
At each intersection, 11th Avenue, 14th Avenue, at all there should be stop signs there. I didn't go look today, but there
Okay,
hasn't
yeah,
been
no,
in
no,
the
no,
past.
no, if I stand corrected, if that's the case.
And the other thing, to answer your question, Chuck, and I guess maybe Drake can clarify this, if this resolution was in effect in 2020, so prior to that, was snowmobiles allowed down there?
I just want to clarify, this resolution is not the governing document that determines whether snowmobiles are prohibited or not. It's merely the village voicing their opinion to the DNR on whether to allow snowmobiles on this extension or not. So prior to this resolution, and at whatever time the DNR declared that snowmobiles were not allowed on this spur, that is when they were not allowed. So this resolution is not the document that prohibits snowmobiles. It's only the village stating their opinion that they would prefer that snowmobiles remain prohibited.
And that's my question, Drake. Were they before this? Were they allowed?
No, they have not been allowed since I
No.
began here.
Okay.
So to clarify that, Drake, so ultimately, it's still up to the Department of Natural Resources, or Steve Schmelzer, you can clarify. You're just looking for an opinion from the village. You will be the ultimate decider on where these things go, right?
Well, yeah, we're looking for, what the local community wants. And then, we would include language in the master plan, depending upon, based upon that input and other input. And then there would still, it still would have to go for approval before the Natural Resources Board. And so they would be ultimately the approving authority, for this. So yeah, that's kind of the route that it would take. And, just a couple other things. And Sam, if you want to go ahead, you've been kind of waiting, and I can talk a few minutes after you're done.
No, just a minute. I'm going to butt in on Sam one more time.
Okay.
So just to clarify, Steve, whatever decision is made tonight, nothing's going to change until the DNR makes a change at some point in the future. Is that right? Right now, the snowmobiles are prohibited from the crossing south. Okay, is that correct?
Yes.
Sam, you're shaking your head.
Snowmobiles are a legal use in any right of way under section 350 of the state statutes. What's a question, Chuck, is the actual use of physically of the paved portion of the trail. And we disagree with the department's position from the beginning that it was illegal. First off, we've used that trail since its inception for over 30 years, and that is an assumed acceptable use. I mean, I've even got a copy of the Sugar River State Trail map that was on the website up until last October, showing that the spur trail was a part of the Sugar River Trail, which is snowmobiling is a legal use. We question that opinion from the start, and our attorneys have explained that to the department. I've even got notation from the department, from the Van Herzen, from their planner, stating that it could be reasonably read to allow the department to permit snowmobiling, which is an interpretation, application by the snowmobilers on that section of trail. So what comes under question to start with, Chuck, is infringement on the trail. Traveling in road right-of-ways is perfectly legal under statute 350. So our use has been acceptable, and in our feeling, perfectly legal since that trail was put in. And the department has the right to put it in the master plan and allow it to continue. The traffic down there has not been hampered because of it. I mean, it was, we feel, an acceptably assumed use that what we were doing was legal. I mean, last year we had record traffic. That trail's been heavily used, and those businesses have been heavily used. And I know Eric's online for many, many years without incidents. I mean, I've been executive director of the association and involved in local snowmobiling for years, and I can also never recall any issues with that trail segment. If we need to have additional signing, we can do it. Jeff is correct that there are stop signs up there. So snowmobilers coming down to the day yield to traffic. They never have right of way under law. So every time I've been down there, people have been polite. We go to the Cenex to get fuel. We take our children to Culver's. And we feel it's been an acceptable use for the past, well, since the early 90s when the trail went in. So we feel it's reasonable, Chuck, that we don't feel we've caused any issues. We brought a lot of business to town, a lot of tourism dollars to the businesses along there. It's really a nice ride. We ride it down. I'm up here in Springfield Township. We ride it every year, at least once down there. And we feel we have a positive benefit. You've heard from the police department that there really haven't been any issues. So I guess we feel it's only reasonable to allow it to continue.
Okay, I got one more question. So the trail aside, you're saying that regardless of the trail, you could drive in the right of way legally.
Right, Chuck, we're legal to run the right of way. The challenge that you have with the situation, and back in late 2019, I had requested working with the department to kind of resolve this issue in the master plan language. What happens, Chuck, is when you're crossing some of the roads, you tend to go to the center of that section, and there's portions where you have to infringe on the trail. There are sections where we can stay off the trail. There are sections where we have to infringe on it. As you get down past Eric's place, down past the Swiss Air Motel and down to Culver's, because the ditch line narrows, we have to infringe on the trail more often. So if it's an allowable use, and we can work with the department and we work with the village, as far as that goes, we're a partner with the department on that system and the effect we have on the surfacing. But it comes down to the fact of reasonable positioning on the thing. If the village turns this down or affirms their resolution, we feel that that there are going to be families that are going to want to go down to Culver's, and they're going to want to get down to the Senate, because it's an easily operational station to fuel in. If everybody turns this down, I mean, people infringing on that trail could be suspect for a $232 fine. So those of us that want to go down to Cenex or want to go to Culver's have a choice to make. Either we do that, or we have to ride on the pavement behind their businesses. And I provided Drake Daly and Roger Trutman a letter from Travis Springs saying their concerns about safety going around the back of their business. We've not had a safety issue with that trail for 30 years. We've been using it regularly for 30 years. We feel it's been a legal use 30 years. We challenged the department's position stating that snowmobiling is not legal on that trail. We feel it most certainly is.
If I could have just a minute, just to reflect on a couple of things here. First of all, there has been local business opinion. I was on this same meeting 2 weeks ago and voiced my opinion, having two businesses on this stretch of trail. You know, it's imperatively important. And I'm talking to Austin at Subway next door. I believe Sam has talked to the people at the Cenex to not allow the snowmobiles to come down this portion of Highway 69 is potentially detrimental to our business. I mean, in the wintertime, there's not a lot of tourism. So all I have are snowmobilers. And one of the biggest questions I get when they call to make reservations is, do you have access to the trail? And I've always been able to say, yeah. So they park their trailer, they drop their trailer, they unload their snowmobiles, they walk out of their room, onto their sled, down the trail they go. As far as the safety and the piles of snow, I can't think of anybody with a snowplow business that would pile up the snow at the end of the driveway, blocking view of traffic. I know the people that plow all of my driveways, they take it to the lowest part of the property nearest the storm sewer drain. So as it melts, it has some place to go. Now Sam has brought up, you know, kids and families, and I can attest to this because I've been here for 15 years. I've watched snowmobiles up and down this trail for 15 years. They're not going at a high rate of speed. There's not a whole lot of length for them to get up to a high rate of speed because of the driveways, the intersections and that kind of thing. And, you know, one thing that stands out to me is the amount of families, husbands, wives, children, they take their time. They're very cautious going and passing each driveway and intersection. They stop, they look, they move on. You know, to try to prohibit this access to businesses on this stretch of this part of New Glarus. There's nothing that prohibits anybody from going downtown. So why are the businesses on the highway having to fight this battle? You know, in the winter, there's no tourist traffic. We rely on this as much as everybody else. And, you know, to say that, no, you can't come, you know, south on this part of Highway 69. So what message did that send? The only lodging that gets any benefit from snowmobilers is the land house? That doesn't quite seem right or seem fair.
So this is Peggy again, and I appreciate all of your input. And Eric, I totally understand where you're coming from and giving me some perspective here. I have a question though, and this isn't necessarily you, Eric. If we did make a decision in the 30 years, apparently we have all this information from people who have firsthand experience with this, that there have been no issues. If we did go ahead and say, okay, let's approve it. If it turned out to be a problem with police, et cetera, could we revisit this again and reconsider, or is this a done deal with the DNR?
Yeah, we do have master plan revision techniques in order to address problems that come up. So in addition to our ability to operate under NR 45 for public safety, we can also do what's called either a master plan amendment or a master plan variance if there were issues and you, the village, came to us and, you know, we want, whichever way we want to go the other way. That is something we could work with the village on at that time. It's a process, and you know, we make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's again, make sure we're making a good change. But there is a mechanism in place for doing that in the code that we follow.
So then to the board members, let's just take a look at this. We have Eric, we have the police department, and we have DNR, who have all said, again, I am trying to make a decision myself here. We have three entities who have all said that in 30 years, there have not been any major issues. Obviously, it's been a plus for businesses as well as New Glarus itself. So I think it would probably be something that we should go ahead and consider. And then if we have to revisit it again, we would have to go through those hoops as well. And that's just my opinion. But again, I'm trying to make opinion myself, but the evidence is strong from these other entities that there has not been issues. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Thank you.
This is Chuck. This is Chuck. Since I sort of delayed this in the first place from our last meeting, just to move this along, I would like to, having heard what we've heard, and of course there'll be further discussion, I would like to move that we rescind the resolution of 2020 prohibiting snowmobiles on the trail from the crossing down. You can reword that, Drake, if you want.
Sure. My advice would be a motion to rescind resolution 20-08 and express the village's support for a change in the DNR's trail master plan to allow snowmobiles on the Sugar River Trail spur to Culvers, and hopefully Lynn grabbed that.
Michael Bell will second that.
And then sorry. So that's that motion in a second. Steve has raised his hand to speak. So Roger, if you don't mind, if he could make a few more comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. I just a couple other quick things. We, Sam and I and Phil and Diane Brousseau, you know, we went and looked at that section, and I think we're all in agreement that there's been confusion in the past on that section. You know, so I think that that's where some of this stems from. And so I think that, you know, having, you know, the chance to make a determination in the master plan will certainly help that. And Sam's correct. You know, the only part that we control is, you know, that paved portion of the trail. So there is room, you know, on potentially both sides until you get down to Culvers where it is problematic. And even if, the department came up and said, oh, it's, it may not be in the best interest, then we certainly would allow any, crossing to occur to make things safer and to make it easier for snowmobilers to get down through there. So yeah, and AWSC has been a good partner to work with. If they say they're going to do something, they'll do it. So I would trust whatever they say. The one part of this that, like I said, we control is that east portion of the trail, but that the one thing that is not with the DNR is in times of darkness, the current DOT regulation on that is that the snowmobiles can't move in both directions irrespective of the traffic. So there, again, we could, if it came to the point that we said, hey, we think it might be good to have, would allow the use, that we couldn't, allow that use because that's outside of our control to do that. So I just want to make that clear. But yeah, I mean, we, again, we're just looking for what the village is interested in doing, and then we can, potentially include that when we make the decision on whether to allow it, right now. So that's it. Thank you.
So then, just to clarify, as the village, are not going to get stuck with the bill of repaving that, right? That became a non-issue, because I think when it was brought to us, the fear is that that paved trail would get turned back into gravel so that's not an issue anymore.
Well, like I said before, I can't say like, hey, it's going to stay pavement the whole time. We'll certainly, when it's time to get repaved, we would certainly look at it and see it. But like I said, when I talked with Tim Spearsteiner from AWSC, he also had indicated, and Sam might be that they could certainly look at that and potentially, help in whatever way that they could with that too. So,
Okay.
I think that's showing some good faith and helping out.
Yeah, we're always here to work with the village and the department. The department houses our program, and it's our plan. With respect to your comments, Chuck, it's always our plan with organized snowmobiling to keep little problems little. If we start smelling issues down there, we work real closely. Local department officials down there have snowmobiles, and they're used to our program. So we really feel we can work with the local police department to keep small problems small if they arise. But I've never seen traffic in my history of snowmobiling any heavier than it was last winter down there. So we feel we got a pretty good gauge of how people behave.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item B, discussion consideration 2022
Thank you.
budget.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start over. Discussion consideration 2022 budget. Go ahead, Drake.
The budget memo is included in your packet. I added some additional supplementary memos that hopefully you've had a chance to read through, kind of highlighting some of some of the main points of the budget, the main changes that may be from past budgets. So if there's any questions of that, Lynn and I and the department heads that might be able to weigh in, we'll do our best.
I have a
reminder, the goal. I apologize, Chuck.
Okay, my question is, what are we looking for here tonight? Are we at the point of looking for approval of the budget, or?
We are not. We would like a general sense from the village board that this is the the budget that you would like to publish for the public hearing. So essentially the budget to present to the public for their review in case they would like to comment at the November, I apologize, the November 16th public hearing on the budget. And so we do not need a motion to approve, but if there are no suggested changes or any motions to, to add or remove something from the draft budget, then this is the document that we will move forward with publication. So approval cannot occur until after the public hearing on November 16th. But if there's no further discussion, we wouldn't place this on another agenda. We would prepare it for publication, send it out for publication, and prepare for the public hearing.
Well, if nobody has anything to add, I'd suggest we move on to item 12 on the agenda.
I have no further concerns with the budget as proposed.
Hey Drake, this is Jeff from the police department. I just want to know one thing on page 29. It still says in here every 3 years for the squad car. We've gotten a new squad car every 2 years.
That's correct. I had fixed it in my supplementary memo, but I must have missed it here. The squads are, there's a squad car lasts for 6 years, which means that we purchase a new squad every 2 years through our rotation. So that's a typo.
Okay,
if they don't have anything to add or change, we can simply move on. Is that correct? Or can you remind me if there's anything else?
That is correct. If they're okay with this budget being the budget we published for the public hearing, then we're good to go until the public hearing.
Thank you.
Are all the board members in agreement? We're good to go on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. We'll move on to item 12. Make a motion to move into closed session.
I'll make a motion that we move into closed session.
Michael Bell will second that.
Okay, we need a roll call, right, Lynn?
Yes, we do. Are we ready for that?
Yep.
Michael Bell,
Yes.
Henry Janish,
Yes.
Peggy Cruz,
Yes.
Tammy Newberry,
Yes.
Chuck Phillipson,
Yes.
Roger Trutman,
Yep.
and Lori Wertz.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session.
Can you give me one moment, please, while I manage the meeting? Chuck, Henry, Lynn. Lori, can you confirm for me that you are 2190734?
That is correct.
Do you want to turn the recording off, Drake?
Yep.
Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.